People in Ugbeen still talk about that night. The night a woman ran into the village square screaming that her stepson had vanished inside the river. But what shook everyone most was not the missing child. It was the voice that rose from the deep water, calling the boy by a name only his real mother knew. A name no human should have heard echo in the dark. Watch the video to see what happened. Ugbeen was a quiet village. People farmed, fished, traded, and greeted one another like family. But inside the big compound of Okoronkwo, Peace was always fighting to survive. This was because he had two wives, Nkemdali, the first wife, and Oluchi, the second wife. Nkemdali was gentle. She did not talk too much, and she walked like someone who carried secrets. Even her laughter was soft and short, like water touching stones. She had only one child, a boy named Obinna. The boy was bright, small, and always smiling. But the second wife, Oluchi, was the opposite. She talked loudly, got angry easily, and always wanted to be noticed. She had no child yet, and bitterness grew inside her like weeds. Whenever she saw Obinna playing or laughing with his father, she felt fire burning her chest. People in the village whispered many things. Some said Oluchi was jealous because Obinna reminded everyone that Nkemdali was the first woman in the house. Some said it was because Nkemdali never complained about anything, even when Oluchi insulted her. But there were also darker whispers that Nkemdali was not a normal woman. Some swore they saw her walking near the river at night. Others said they heard her speaking in a soft voice to someone who was not there. But nobody could prove anything, and nobody dared to confront her. The only clear truth was this: the river always felt different when Nkemdali passed by. One sunny afternoon, Okoronkwo traveled to a nearby village for a meeting. Before he left, he told both wives to take care of the house and watch the child. As soon as he left, Oluchi began to complain and hiss loudly, "Why must I stay here with that boy?" she grumbled. "Every day, everything is about him. Him. Am I a slave in this house?" And Nkemdali said nothing. She simply smiled and carried on with her work. Oluchi continued, "You think you've won because you have a child? Let me see how long your pride will last." Nkemdali still did not answer. She only tied her wrapper tighter and walked away. Her silence made Oluchi even angrier. Later that evening, Nkemdali went to the farm to bring back vegetables. Obinna was left in the compound, playing with stones. Oluchi watched him with eyes full of envy. Suddenly, an idea entered her mind. A dangerous idea. An idea that made her heart beat fast. "If the boy is not here," she whispered to herself, "then I will be the only wife with Okoronkwo. His love will be mine alone." She looked around. The compound was empty. No neighbor was passing. The sun was dropping slowly. The river was not far. She went to Obinna slowly, forcing a smile. "Obinna, my dear," she said sweetly, "come. Let me take you to the river. I will wash your legs. You have played too much and your body is dirty." The boy trusted her. He followed her. His small hand held hers. They walked down the narrow path leading to the river. The water was calm. The breeze was cool, almost cold. When they reached the river bank, Oluchi looked around again. The place was empty. She breathed slowly, trying to gather courage. "Step inside small," she told Obinna. "Let the water touch your legs." The boy stepped closer. Then, everything changed. The water suddenly rippled like something alive was moving under it. A cold wind blew across the river surface. Oluchi froze. Something inside the water was watching them, but she ignored the strange feeling. Her wicked plan was louder in her mind. She pushed him. Obinna fell into the river with a short cry. The water folded around him and swallowed him as if it had been waiting. Oluchi stepped back, shaking. At first, she thought she had succeeded. But then, the river began to glow. A soft, blue-green light rose from beneath the water. A woman's voice, deep, calm, and frighteningly familiar, called out, "Obinna, my son." Oluchi felt all the blood leave her body. That voice. She knew that voice. It was Nkemdali's. But not the Nkemdali who lived in the house. This was the Nkemdali who belonged to the river. The one nobody knew. Oluchi stood at the edge of the river, shaking like a leaf caught in storm wind. The air around her felt heavy, as if the whole world was holding its breath. The glowing water rose and fell in slow waves, each wave brighter than the last. Then the voice came again, calm, deep, almost sweet, but carrying a warning inside it. Obina, my son, come. At first, Oluchi wanted to run. She wanted to scream and call for help. She wanted to forget the wicked plan she had carried out. But her legs refused to move. It felt like the river held her in place. It felt like something unseen was watching her. Suddenly, the water shifted, and a shape began to form. It was not a fish. It was not an animal. It was the outline of a woman. Her hair floated around her head like long robes. Her skin shone like wet clay. But what froze Oluchi completely were the eyes. They were the exact eyes of Nkemdali. Calm. Quiet. Too knowing. Oluchi felt her heart stop for 2 long seconds. Nkemdali was not just a woman. She was a Mami Water, a river spirit, the real mother of the child she tried to kill. The figure drifted closer. The glow followed her like a small cloud. And then, from the water, Obina rose. From beneath the surface held gently by the spirit woman. He was breathing. His eyes were open, and he looked completely calm, as if he had just woken from sleep. Ma, he whispered. The spirit smiled sadly. My son, you are safe. Oluchi fell to her knees, her hands shaking. Tears ran down her face as she realized what she had done. Nkemdali, is that you? She asked with a trembling voice. The spirit woman spoke softly. I am Nkemdali, but not the one you think you know. I am the mother of the waters. I walk among humans only because I fell in love with this land, and I wanted a child who would know both water and earth. Oluchi could not speak. Her mouth was dry. Her head was spinning. The Mami Water continued. I came to live with humans to raise Obina in peace. But jealousy has a way of dragging people into darkness. Oluchi cried even harder. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Please. Please don't kill me. The spirit lifted Obina fully out of the water and placed him gently on a rock near the riverbank. The child looked healthy, untouched, shining slightly with the glow of the river. I will not kill you, the spirit said, but your actions must bring consequences. Oluchi wiped her face. Please, I beg you. The river suddenly stilled. Not one ripple, not one breeze. Then the spirit woman looked straight into Oluchi's eyes. You wanted this boy gone, she said. You wish to be the only wife. You wish to raise another woman's child. Now listen to me well. You will speak the truth tonight. You will not hide what you have done. Oluchi shook her head wildly. No. They will cast me out. They will beat me. They may even kill me. That is the price of your own decision, the spirit said firmly. The river does not lie. And neither should you. Oluchi bent forward, hitting her forehead on the ground. Please, let me do anything else. Anything. I will serve you. I will worship you. I will. The spirit raised her hand. No. You will face humans, not spirits. Then her voice softened. I am not cruel, but I protect what is mine. Oluchi looked up slowly. Her eyes were swollen with fear. What will you do to me? The spirit woman moved closer, her form rising slightly above the water. I will leave you with a mark, she said. A reminder of what your jealousy has done. You will see it every morning. You will carry it until you confess. Oluchi tried to crawl backward, but her body refused. The spirit touched her forehead. The touch was brief but burning. A sharp, hot pain shot through Oluchi's head and down her spine. She screamed. The air around her shimmered. She felt something change inside her, like cold fingers wrapping around her heart. When she opened her eyes, the spirit had stepped back. Still glowing, still calm. You may return to the village, the Mami Water said. But know this. Your time to speak the truth is short. If you do not confess, the river will return for you. Oluchi gasped for air. I will confess. I will tell them everything. The spirit nodded and slowly lowered herself into the water. Obina reached out as if he wanted to stay with her. Hush, my child, she whispered. Return home for now. But remember, you are part of the river, and the river is part of you. Your time with me is not finished. With that, the glow faded. The river returned to its normal dark surface. Only the quiet sound of flowing water remained. Oluchi, breathing hard, looked at Obina, who was now sitting calmly, swinging his small legs. How will I explain this? She whispered. Obina just stared at her, silent, knowing, and strangely older than a child his age. And together, in heavy silence, they began walking back to the village. The walk back to the village felt endless for Oluchi. Every step shook her bones. Every sound around her made her jump. The wind in the trees sounded like voices calling her name. Even Obina's small footsteps behind her felt like echoes of judgment. Obina said nothing. He just walked with a strange calmness, his eyes fixed on the path. Sometimes he stared up at the sky as if he could still hear the river calling him. Other times he looked at Oluchi with a quiet, heavy gaze that made her chest tighten. By the time they reached the edge of Ugbeen, night had already swallowed the village. Fires burned low in cooking huts. People were returning from evening gatherings. Crickets sang loudly, but everything felt strange. Almost too quiet for a normal night. Oluchi wiped her sweaty face and tried to act normal. She hoped nobody would notice the fear in her movements. She hoped nobody would ask where she had been. Most of all, she hoped Nkemdali had not yet returned from the farm. But fate was waiting for her. As soon as they entered the compound, they saw her, Nkemdali, standing at the doorway, holding a bunch of vegetables. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. She looked at Oluchi first, then slowly turned to Obina. Obina, she said softly. Where have you been? Obina stepped forward as if pulled by her voice. He hugged her around the waist, and Nkemdali held him tightly, closing her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, she focused fully on Oluchi. Where did you take my son? Oluchi felt her heart stop. Before she could form a lie, a sudden hot sting shot through her forehead, the exact spot where the spirit had touched her. She gasped, holding her head. The pain pulsed like fire inside her skull. Nkemdali watched quietly. She knew. She could see everything inside Oluchi's eyes. You went to the river, Nkemdali said calmly. Oluchi's body trembled. I only wanted to wash his legs, she mumbled weakly. Nkemdali stepped closer. At night, when the river spirits are awake, Oluchi's knees almost gave way. The pain in her forehead grew sharper, as if warning her that another lie would bring worse punishment. Before she could speak, the compound door opened and Okoronkwo walked in, dusty from travel. He stretched his back and complained loudly about the long journey. Then he noticed the tension in the air. What is happening here? Why is everyone standing like carved stones? Oluchi swallowed hard. Nkemdali's eyes stayed locked on her. Obina clung to his mother's wrapper. The pain in Oluchi's forehead burned again. Fiercer this time. She began, but her voice cracked. An owl screeched from the top of the compound fence. A cold breeze blew through the compound. Something unseen moved in the shadows. It was the river's warning. Oluchi opened her mouth again. Unable to hold back. I took him to the river, she shouted suddenly. Okoronkwo froze. What? I took Obina to the river, she repeated, her voice shaking wildly. I wanted him gone. The entire compound fell silent. Even the night insect seemed to pause. Nkemdali's face remained calm, but her eyes turned darker. Okoronkwo stared in disbelief. You did what? Are you mad? You took a child to the river alone. I wanted to push him away, Oluchi cried, collapsing to her knees. I thought if he disappeared, you would love only me. I didn't know. She stopped herself before saying too much. Nkemdali's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Nobody else noticed it. Okoronkwo looked at her sharply. What do you mean you didn't know? Didn't know what? Oluchi pressed her hands to her forehead, crying. I didn't know. The burning pain flared violently, stopping her words. Nkemdali stepped forward. Leave it, she said gently. She has confessed enough for tonight. But Okoronkwo was still shocked and angry. Enough. She almost killed my son. Oluchi looked up with tears streaming down her face. He didn't die. The river saved him. Okoronkwo frowned. What foolish talk is that? Nkemdali lifted Obina and held him close. Her calmness made the scene even more unsettling. The river does not take the innocent, she said quietly. Sometimes it protects them. Okoronkwo turned to his first wife with confusion. What are you saying? How can a river protect a child? Nkemdali stared at him with a long, sad look. Some things in this world are deeper than you know. He opened his mouth to ask more questions, but before he could speak, a heavy wind swept across the compound, slamming the gate shut with a loud bang. Everyone jumped. Obina reached for his mother's neck and whispered, Mama, the river said it will come back for me. Nkemdali nodded slowly. Yes, my son, it will. Oluchi gasped. No, please, not again. Nkemdali looked at her with calm, cold certainty. Your punishment has only begun. The night felt thicker, darker, watching. And somewhere, far away but growing closer, the river stirred. All through the night, the wind refused to rest. It rushed through the trees, shook the compound roof, and made strange sounds like someone whispering from far away. Nobody in Okoronkwo's household slept well. Nkemdali sat awake with Obinna lying beside her, his head on her lap. She stroked his hair gently while watching the moon through the small window. Her eyes did not blink often. They reflected the moonlight like water. Oluchi lay on the floor of her own hut, shaking and turning from side to side. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the glowing river, the spirit woman's face, and the hand that burned a mark onto her forehead. The burning had stopped earlier, but now it came in waves, sharp and hot whenever she tried to lie or hide her thoughts. By midnight, she could no longer take the fear. She stood up and rushed outside, breathing fast. The night was cold, the moon hung low, and the surrounding bushes swayed with every strange wind. She looked toward the river path. It felt like someone was standing there in the shadows, watching her, waiting. Oluchi stumbled backward, whispering, I confessed. What more do you want?" But the shadows did not answer. She ran back into the compound and sat near the kitchen hearth, hugging her knees. After a long moment, she heard footsteps, slow, gentle footsteps. Nkemdali walked toward her, carrying Obinna on her hip. The child was half asleep, leaning his head against her shoulder. Oluchi stared at Nkemdali with wide, terrified eyes. "Please, don't let the river take me." Nkemdali's face held no anger, no pride, no smile, only a calm, cold sadness. "The river does not take people without reason, I confessed," Oluchi cried. "I said the truth, yes," Nkemdali replied, "but your heart has not changed. You hate what you did, but you do not truly regret the reason behind it." Oluchi clutched her chest. "I regret it. I regret everything." "Do you regret losing the boy?" Nkemdali asked softly. "Or do you regret that your plan failed?" Oluchi had no answer. The silence was deep, heavy. Nkemdali turned to leave, but then Obinna spoke in a sleepy voice. "Mama, someone is outside." Oluchi froze. Nkemdali stopped walking. The wind stopped too. "Where?" Nkemdali asked quietly. Obinna pointed toward the compound gate. "There." A low sound began. Woo, woo, like someone blowing air over a bottle. The dry leaves on the ground lifted and swelled in a small circle. The shadows near the gate thickened and twisted as if they were alive. Oluchi stood, trembling violently. "It's the river spirit. She has come for me." Nkemdali closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her voice dropped into a tone that carried power even in its softness. "No. She does not leave the river. She only sends warnings." Oluchi swallowed hard. What does the warning mean? "That time is passing," Nkemdali said. "The truth inside you must come out fully. Not only words spoken from fear." The swirling leaves suddenly shot upward like a small whirlwind and then scattered across the yard. The shadows near the gate stretched long, then vanished. Everything became quiet again. Then Obinna spoke softly. "Mama, they said they want to see her." Nkemdali's eyes sharpened. "Who wants to see her?" "The river," Obinna whispered, his voice rising with an otherworldly calm. "They said she must come. She must answer." Oluchi fell to her knees. "No. I will die. I can't go there. Please." Nkemdali walked toward her. "You will go. But not tonight." Oluchi looked up with confusion and fear. Then, when the sun rises," Nkemdali answered, "you will stand by the river, and whatever judgment the water gives, you must accept." "No. Please," Oluchi screamed, grabbing Nkemdali's wrapper. "Tell them to forgive me. Please. I begged you." Nkemdali gently removed her wrapper from Oluchi's grip. "Forgiveness is not mine to give. You offended the river, not me, but you." Oluchi cried harder. "You're the river woman. You're the mother of the water." Nkemdali's eyes glowed faintly again. "Yes. But even a mother cannot protect someone from the consequences of their own heart." Oluchi collapsed forward, pressing her head into the dust. The burning on her forehead pulsed violently again, making her scream. "Tomorrow," Nkemdali repeated quietly, "you will meet the river." Morning came slowly. The sun rose with a strange red color, like an omen hanging in the sky. Villagers gathered outside the compound, whispering about screams they heard in the night, about strange winds, about shadows moving like people. Okoronkwo stepped out with confusion on his face. He still did not understand half of what had happened, but he froze when he saw Oluchi, kneeling in the center of the yard, shaking uncontrollably, her forehead swollen and glowing faintly. Nkemdali came out with Obinna. She looked at her husband calmly. "Today," she said, "we go to the river." The villagers gasped. Okoronkwo stared. "Why?" Before before Nkemdali could speak, a deep rumble rolled across the earth like thunder, but coming from under the ground. The river was calling. The river path was silent. Not the normal, peaceful silence of morning, but a silence that felt like the whole world had stopped breathing. Even the birds refused to sing. Even the trees swayed without sound, as if they feared to disturb whatever waited at the water's edge. A crowd of villagers followed behind Okoronkwo, whispering and arguing in low tones. Nobody understood what was happening, but they all felt something strange and dangerous in the air. Oluchi walked in front, forced by fear, shaking from head to toe. Her forehead glowed faintly under the morning sun. Every few steps, she stumbled. Every time she stumbled, she cried quietly, begging the earth to open and swallow her before the river could judge her. Behind her walked Nkemdali, calm and steady, holding Obina's hand. The boy looked strange that morning, too quiet, too wise for his age. He did not smile. He only stared ahead, as if he could already hear voices coming from beneath the water. When they reached the riverbank, the villagers stopped at a distance. Nobody wanted to get too close. The water looked wrong, too dark, too still, too deep. It looked like a giant eye watching them. A low wind blew across the surface, forming small circles that spread out slowly. The villagers stepped back. Some whispered prayers. Some covered their eyes. Nkemdali touched Obina's shoulder gently, then stepped forward with Oluchi. Here we are, she said softly. Oluchi fell to her knees again. Please, please, I beg you. I will do anything. Don't let them drag me inside. Nkemdali looked at her without anger. Stand up. The river wants to see you. I can't, Oluchi cried. You must. Nkemdali replied, or the water will come for you itself. Her voice carried a power that made Oluchi obey. Still trembling, she stood, slowly like someone walking into her own grave. Nkemdali stepped back and lifted Obina into her arms. The villagers watched in total silence. Oluchi stood at the very edge of the water. The dark surface reflected her face, the fear, the tears, the glowing mark on her forehead. Then the river spoke, not with a human voice, not with a clear sound, but with a deep rumble from beneath the earth. Boom, 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 like the heartbeat of something enormous and ancient. Oluchi screamed, covering her ears. The villagers fell to the ground. Okoronkwo grabbed his head in confusion. Obina only held tighter to his mother. The water began to glow, slowly at first, then brighter, then blinding. A shape rose from under the river. The Mami water spirit. The same woman Oluchi had seen the night before. But now she was larger, taller, glowing like a second sun. Her hair floated around her like long, living shadows. Her eyes shone with a light that saw straight into the soul. Everyone who saw her gasped. Some fainted, some cried, some whispered, "Kimooo," but Nkemdali did not move, because this was who she truly was. The river spirit turned her glowing eyes to Oluchi. You have come, the spirit said. Oluchi shook violently. Mercy, mercy, please, forgive me. You tried to take an innocent life. The spirit said. You allowed jealousy to blind you. You wished for another woman's child to disappear. I know, Oluchi cried. I know. I was wicked. Please spare me. The spirit's eyes narrowed. You confessed out of fear, not from your heart. Do you regret what you did, or do you regret being caught? Oluchi pressed her hands to her face and sobbed. I regret everything. I regret my heart. I regret my envy. I regret the thoughts that lived inside me. I wish I could take it back. Please, I will never harm the boy again. The river became still, totally still. Even the breeze stopped. Finally, the spirit spoke. You will not die today. Oluchi looked up sharply, confused. I won't know, the spirit said. Death is easy. Too easy for someone who must learn. The villagers murmured in shock. The spirit continued. You will carry the mark on your forehead forever. It will burn whenever jealousy grows inside you. You will never be able to hide wicked thoughts again. Your own mind will judge you. Oluchi felt the mark burn again. Hot, sharp, punishing from today. The spirit said. You will serve the very household you tried to destroy. You will protect the boy you wish dead. And if you ever raise a hand, or a thought, against him again, the river suddenly rose in a tall wall of water. The river will drag you under, and you will never return. The water crashed back down. Oluchi screamed and covered her face, shaking uncontrollably. The spirit then turned to Nkemdali. Your time in the village is ending. Nkemdali nodded slowly. I know. Obinna looked up at her. Mama, she kissed his forehead gently. My son, the river has called. I must return. The child's eyes filled with tears. But, who will stay with me? You will stay with your father, she whispered. You will grow strong. You will carry the river inside you. And one day, when the time is right, you will come to me. Then she placed his small hand in Okoronkwo's shaking palm. The spirit woman stepped backward into the water. As her body sank, the river glowed brighter and brighter. Before she disappeared completely, she said one last thing. Protect the boy. He belongs to two worlds. Then, she was gone. The glow faded. The river became calm. The crowd slowly rose, shaken and speechless. Okoronkwo held his son tightly, tears running down his face. Oluchi lay flat on the sand, sobbing, clutching her burning forehead. Obinna wiped his tears and whispered, Mama, the river answered with a soft ripple. And that was how Ugbin village learned the truth. That some mothers are not born from earth, but from water, and that jealousy can call spirits stronger than any human. The moral lesson to learn from this story is that jealousy is a dangerous seed that can destroy a person faster than any enemy, and this story shows how hidden envy can lead someone into deep trouble. It also teaches that the truth will always rise to the surface, no matter how hard someone tries to hide it. Above all, it reminds us that every child is innocent and deserves protection, and anyone who tries to harm a child will eventually face the consequences of their actions. Thanks for watching to this point. Subscribe to this channel so you will be the first person to get notified when our next video drops in few days. I will like you to share your thoughts in the comment section as I enjoy reading and replying every one of them. Also like and share the video to your loved ones. Thanks and bye for now.